It was a bright Saturday morning when you decided to hike the lesser-known trails of Pine Ridge National Park. The weather was perfect for an adventure, with crisp air and clear skies. You packed your gear, excited to explore the hidden beauty of the wilderness, and set off alone, eager for solitude. The trail began smoothly, lined with towering pines and dotted with vibrant wildflowers. You reveled in the peace of nature, the sound of leaves rustling underfoot soothing your mind. After a few hours, you reached a fork in the path. One trail led towards a picturesque overlook, while the other appeared more rugged and winding. Intrigued by the less traveled route, you chose the latter, thinking it might lead to something extraordinary. As you ventured deeper, the trees grew thicker, their branches twisting overhead like skeletal fingers. An unsettling quiet settled around you, as if the forest was holding its breath. You shrug off the feeling, attributing it to your imagination. But as you continued, a faint whispering sound caught your attention. You paused, straining to listen, but the whispers faded into the wind, leaving you unnerved. Hours passed, and the sun began to dip low in the sky, casting long shadows that danced ominously across the trail. You decided to turn back, but as you retraced your steps, you realized that the trail didn't look familiar. Panic started to rise in your chest. You quickened your pace, glancing around, feeling the oppressive weight of the trees closing in. Then, just as you thought you were lost, you stumbled upon an old, weathered cabin hidden among the trees. It looked abandoned, the wooden walls rotting and covered in moss. Curiosity got the better of you, and you approached cautiously. The door creaked eerily as you pushed it open, revealing a dusty interior filled with remnants of a long-forgotten life. A chill ran down your spine as you noticed an old journal lying open on a rickety table. Flipping through the pages, you found entries filled with frantic scrawls about being watched, about shadows lurking in the woods. The last entry was a frantic plea. "They're coming for me. I can hear them whispering my name." Just then, the whispering returned, more urgent this time. Your heart raced as you felt an icy breath on your neck. You spun around, but the cabin was empty. Terror gripped you, and without thinking, you bolted for the door. It slammed shut as you reached for the handle, trapping you inside. Panicking, you banged against the door, but it wouldn't budge. The whispers morphed into anguished wails, echoing around you, filling the cabin with an otherworldly sound. You turned to look for another way out, but the room felt like it was closing in. In a fit of desperation, you grabbed a nearby chair and hurled it against a window. Glass shattered everywhere as you climbed out, cutting your arms on the shards. You landed hard on the ground outside and scrambled to your feet, the wails still ringing in your ears. You ran blindly into the forest, branches whipping at your face. The whispers grew louder, now distinctly calling your name. "Come back." The voice was familiar, haunting, and it sent waves of dread coursing through you. You twisted and turned through the trees, trying to remember the path back. The forest felt alive, and every shadow seemed to stretch and move. Just when you thought you were losing your mind, you broke into a clearing and spotted the main trail. Relief surged through you, and you sprinted toward it, glancing back one last time. The cabin stood ominously in the distance, and for a fleeting moment, you saw a figure in the window, a dark silhouette watching you. You reached your car breathless and trembling, the echoes of the forest still lingering in your mind. As you drove away, the sun dipped below the horizon, and you felt a chill creep into the air. You glanced in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see something following you, but the road behind was empty. Days turned into weeks, but the experience haunted you. The whispers invaded your dreams, a constant reminder of that eerie cabin and the figure watching from within. You tried to ignore it, to forget, but you felt an inexplicable pull to return to Pine Ridge. Finally, one fateful evening, you found yourself back at the trailhead, compelled by an urge you couldn't resist. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the path, and as you stepped into the forest, the whispers returned, stronger than ever. This time, you knew you wouldn't escape. It was a late summer afternoon when you decided to hike the secluded trails of Hollow Creek, a spot known for its stunning views and tranquil solitude. You had heard rumors about the area, whispers of strange occurrences and lost hikers, but you brushed them off as mere tales to scare the faint of heart. Armed with a map and a sense of adventure, you set off. The first hour was peaceful. The trail meandered through towering pines and past bubbling streams, the air filled with the fresh scent of earth and foliage. As you climbed higher, the sounds of civilization faded away, leaving you alone with nature. But as you entered a more dense part of the forest, an unsettling feeling settled over you. The air grew still, and the birdsong ceased. You shrug it off, attributing it to the natural shifts of the wilderness. Then, you heard a faint, melodic humming that seemed to drift through the trees. You paused, trying to locate the source, but the sound faded as quickly as it had come. As you pressed on, the trail began to narrow, overgrown with underbrush. Suddenly, you stumbled upon an old, dilapidated cabin partially hidden by vines and moss. Curiosity piqued. You approached. The door creaked open, revealing a dark interior filled with dust and decay. On a rickety table lay an old journal, its pages yellowed and fragile. You flipped it open, reading the frantic scrawls of a former occupant. The entry spoke of a growing darkness in the woods, of shadows that watched from the trees and a haunting melody that drew the writer deeper into the forest. The last entry was chilling. I can hear them calling my name. I'm not alone anymore. A shiver ran down your spine as the melodic humming returned, now louder and more insistent. Panic gripped you. You glanced around the cabin, feeling a cold draft sweep through, and that's when you saw it, a shadowy figure standing just outside the window, its features indistinct but its presence unmistakable. Heart racing, you stumbled backward, crashing into a stack of old crates. The figure seemed to dissolve into the trees, but the humming grew louder, echoing in your ears. Without thinking, you bolted out of the cabin, desperation driving you forward. You needed to get back to the main trail. The forest was a blur as you ran, branches snapping underfoot. The whispers turned into a cacophony, swirling around you, blending with the haunting melody that seemed to beckon you deeper into the woods. You fought against the pull, but every instinct told you something was wrong. Finally, you broke into a clearing, panting and disoriented. The sun was setting, casting eerie shadows that danced across the ground. You spotted the main trail, relief flooding through you as you sprinted toward it. But as you reached the edge, the humming stopped abruptly. A cold silence enveloped you, and for a moment, you felt as if you were being watched. You glanced back toward the cabin, but it was gone. In its place stood only trees, thick and unyielding. Confused, you turned back to the path, determined to escape the creeping dread. Just as you thought you were free, you heard a voice, soft, gentle, and eerily familiar. "Come back. I need you." The voice resonated in your mind, sending chills down your spine. You stumbled, struggling to comprehend what was happening. You ran, heart pounding, until you finally reached your car. You fumbled with your keys, desperate to escape. As you drove away, you glanced in the rearview mirror. The woods loomed behind you, silent and foreboding. But just before you turned the corner, you thought you saw a figure standing at the edge of the trail, watching you leave. Weeks passed, and the experience haunted you. You could hear the humming in your dreams, the voice calling your name. No matter how hard you tried to shake it off, the memory lingered like a shadow. You learned later that several hikers had gone missing in Hollow Creek over the years, their names lost to time. As the seasons changed, you couldn't resist the urge to return, the pull of the forest too strong to ignore. You found yourself back at the trailhead one crisp autumn day, a mix of dread and curiosity coursing through you. The whispers greeted you as you stepped onto the path, more insistent this time, urging you to follow. You knew you should turn back, but something deep inside compelled you to press on. This time, you would uncover the truth behind the haunting of Hollow Creek. And perhaps, just perhaps, it would be your last hike. It was an early autumn afternoon when you decided to hike the remote trails of Misty Pines, a place known for its breathtaking views and serene atmosphere. You had always been drawn to the outdoors, and today was no different. Armed with a map, a packed lunch, and a sense of adventure, you set off alone, eager to escape the routine of daily life. The first hour of the hike was delightful. The sun filtered through the trees, casting playful shadows on the ground, while the crisp air invigorated your spirit. You followed the main path, enjoying the sounds of nature, the rustle of leaves, and the distant chirping of birds. However, as you ventured further, the trail became less defined, winding deeper into the woods. Eventually, you came across a fork in the path. One trail was marked and well-worn, while the other was narrow, overgrown, and seemingly untouched. Intrigued, you decided to take the unmarked route, thinking it might lead to a hidden gem. As you walked, the trees closed in around you, their branches forming a dense canopy that darkened the forest floor. After a while, the atmosphere shifted. The cheerful sounds of nature faded, replaced by an oppressive silence that sent shivers down your spine. You dismissed it as your imagination, attributing it to the isolation. But then, just as you turned a bend, you heard a faint whisper, almost melodic, echoing through the trees. You stopped, straining to listen, but the sound vanished into the wind. With an uneasy feeling settling in your stomach, you pressed on. The trail twisted and turned, and before long, you realized you had lost all sense of direction. Panic started to creep in as the sunlight began to wane, casting long shadows that danced around you. Just when you thought you'd turn back, you stumbled upon an old cabin, hidden in the underbrush. Curiosity piqued, you approached. The door hung slightly ajar, creaking as you pushed it open. Inside, the air was thick with dust and decay. Faded photographs adorned the walls, depicting a family long gone. On a table lay a journal, its pages yellowed with age. You picked it up, flipping through the frantic entries that chronicled the life of the cabin's last occupant, a man slowly descending into madness. The final entry sent chills down your spine. They're watching me. I can hear them whispering my name. Suddenly, the whispering returned, louder this time, swirling around you like a cold wind. You felt a presence behind you and turned, but there was nothing there. Heart racing, you stumbled back out of the cabin, the eerie whispers echoing in your ears. You needed to find your way back. As you retraced your steps, the forest felt alive, as if it were closing in around you. The sun dipped below the horizon, plunging the woods into twilight. You quickened your pace, anxiety gripping you as you tried to remember which way led to the main trail. Just then, you heard the whispering again, clearer now, and it was calling your name. Panic surged as you broke into a run, branches scratching at your skin. The whispers turned into a cacophony, echoing in your mind. Stay with us, don't leave. The voice felt familiar, almost comforting, yet filled with dread. Finally, you burst into a clearing and spotted the main trail. Relief flooded over you as you sprinted toward it. But as you reached the edge, the whispers stopped abruptly, plunging you into an unsettling silence. You glanced back, expecting to see the cabin, but it was gone, swallowed by the darkness. You made it back to your car, breathless and shaken, but the memory of the cabin and its whispers haunted you. Days turned into weeks, but you couldn't shake the feeling that you had left something behind. The whispers lingered in your dreams, always calling your name. One night, unable to sleep, you found yourself staring at the map of Misty Pines, the unmarked trail beckoning you. Compelled by a force you couldn't explain, you returned to the trailhead, a mix of dread and curiosity coursing through your veins. As you stepped onto the path, the familiar whispers welcomed you back, more insistent this time. You knew you should turn back, but deep down, you felt that you had to discover the truth behind the haunting of the lost trail. This time, you wouldn't escape. Alright everyone, that brings us to the end of our story. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. And if you have similar stories you'd like to share with us, feel free to reach out. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.